Part 17. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 161. The Buddha bell of the Buddha temple rang loudly. Many monks heard the sound and hurriedly gathered towards the temple as if struck by lightning. Soon, a piece of news came out. The Juyan sect came out in full force, driving hundreds of spirit boats and heading towards the Buddha temple. No one knew why the war between the two righteous sects would start so abruptly. No one knew. How tragic would the war between the two first-class sects in the central region be? The foreign monks did not dare to stay in the Buddha temple anymore and left in all directions. Then, the Buddha temple's great array for salvation and the temple's defense array were opened one after another. The sect war was about to break out. No one noticed. In front of the reception hall destroyed by Mukwei, Xuanhuan quietly touched back. At his feet, two people were lying. One was the elder of the reception hall, Huixing. The other was the first true disciple of Deng Gyuda, Xuanhuan. Both of them were severely injured by Mukwei and fell into a coma. Crouching beside Xuanhuan, Xuanhuan took out a bone-depleting pill from his spirit ring, his eyes slightly hesitant. He and Xuanhuan had no grudges in the past and no grudges in the present, so how could he harm someone's life for no reason? But this was another task assigned by Xuanhuan. If he could not complete it, he would definitely be expelled from the sect, and even his life would be in danger. He had no choice at all. Again, the same words. It was impossible for him to betray the sect, and he would never betray the sect in his life. Because he grew up in Juyan sect since he was a child, and that was his home. Moreover, Xuanhuan treated him well before she went crazy. Although he was not a true disciple, he enjoyed the cultivation resources far beyond ordinary disciples. He could not retreat in terms of emotion and reason. Xuanhuan, don't blame me. I was forced to do this. Who made the peak master dislike you? If you follow your heart like me, how can you end up like this? Forget it, after you die, I will burn my flattery from beginner to master for you. In the next life, remember to be low-key. Xuanhuan kept talking and thinking about himself. In the end, he gritted his teeth, opened Xuanhuan's mouth, and fed the poison pill. The poison pill entered his stomach, and his stomach ached. The strong pain woke Xuanhuan from his coma. What came into view was a strange face. Although Xuanhuan had heard of Xuanhuan, he had never paid attention to such a character, and naturally did not know what Xuanhuan looked like. "Who are you?" Xuanhuan exclaimed. "Xuanhuan, every wrong has its perpetrator. If you become a ghost after you die, come and seek revenge on me," Xuanhuan said with a serious expression. "Remember, my name is Lu Lin." A chorus disciple of Zhu Feng. Xuanhuan had a face full of question marks. Who is Lu Lin? I don't know him. Of course he didn't know him. Not to mention him, even Xuanhuan didn't know Lu Lin. The reason why he knew this name was because the slogan of Save Lu Lin was too loud when Zhu Feng started the internal strife of the sect last time. Why do you want to harm me? Xuanhuan asked again. This. Xuanhuan was speechless for a moment, but he straightened his expression, because my target is the master of poison, and there is a blood feud between you and me. Hearing this, Xuanhuan had more question marks on his face. At this moment, he just wanted to say one thing. Your target is the master of poison, what does this have to do with me? As for the blood feud, that's even more nonsense. He himself did not know when and where he had formed a blood feud with the Lu Lin in front of him. Xuanhuan wanted to resist, but he could not move. He wanted to control the spiritual fire in his body to burn the toxins in his body. But under the severe injuries, he could not raise a single bit of vitality. Xuanhuan screamed miserably. The withered bone pill is a 6th-grade poison pill, which is extremely toxic. After the abdominal pain, Xiao Shan could clearly feel that his limbs were bitten by insects and ants, not only began to break, but also under the influence of the poison, disintegrated and broke like dry bones. More importantly, although he was about to suffocate in pain, he did not lose his mind. Instead, he felt the pain and the loss of vitality very clearly. This is the withered bone pill, which will not make people die easily, and must be tortured. Xiao Shan kept screaming. His bones gradually withered and turned into blood and water flowing out of his 7 orifices. His screams became lighter and lighter. Before he died, he used his last strength to point at Zhang Hu's nose and said, "Lu Lin. Even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go." His life force completely disappeared. Xiao Shan's 7 orifices were bleeding, and his whole body was soft and boneless, lying in a pool of blood, with a twisted posture. Such a horrible scene made Zhang Hu swallow his saliva with difficulty. But Zhang Hu did not regret it, but felt fortunate. Because he knew very well, if Xiao Shan didn't die, he would die. Maybe he would die in the same way. This is the death of a fellow Taoist, but not the death of a poor Taoist. He did have a grudge against Xiao Shan, a blood feud of life and death. Hu. Slowly exhaling a breath of turbid air, Zhang Hu's mood changed. In the past, he was the one who was scared and beaten by others. But this time, he took the dominant position and poisoned the first true disciple of Dang Gyuda with his own hands. Although this was also a last resort, it gave him an illusion that he could control his own destiny. "You are not Lu Lin, you are Zhang Hu." A slight revealing sound suddenly sounded. Zhang Hu followed the sound and couldn't help but shrink his pupils. The speaker was none other than Hui Xing, the elder of Jianhal, who was also seriously injured. "Zhang Hu, you poisoned the Danggu Pagoda true legend. Even the Juyan sect can't protect you. Evil people like you will be punished by everyone," Hui Xing spoke again. "Say it." The monk endured the pain, struggled to get up, and was ready to save Zhang Hu. Hui Xing underestimated his injuries and overestimated his abilities. He stood up with murderous intent, but after taking a few steps, he fell to the ground again. Lying on the ground, Hui Xing's heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling. As expected, Zhang Hu, who was facing a formidable enemy, was stunned for a moment when he saw this, and then said with a sinister smile, "Bald donkey, you are going to suffer a bloody disaster today." The familiar word stunned Hui Xing. He remembers it clearly. When Zhang Hu first arrived at the Jiyan Hall, he also said that there would be a bloody disaster, and beat him to a bloody head, fulfilling his prophecy. It's true that things are changing. Hui Xing never expected that the bloody disaster would happen to him again. Donor, the poor monk actually didn't see anything. "Don't commit any more sins. Put down the butcher knife now, ugh." Hui Xing was only halfway through speaking when a poison pill was stuffed into his mouth. After the elixir enters the abdomen. Soon, like Xiao Shan, he began to feel cramping pain in his abdomen and his bones screamed in grief. In the end, blood gushed out from his 7 orifices and he died in a pool of blood. Looking at the bodies of Xiao Shan and Hui Xing, Zhang Hu shook his head. He killed Dang Gyuda Zhenzwen for no reason, and killed the elder of Jianhal in order to cover up others' misunderstandings. These actions were definitely not the right thing to do. But can you blame him? Cannot. He just lives from his heart. Since he lives from his heart, what is the difference between good and evil? Sudden. Zhang Hu thought of something, his eyes lit up and he said, "Master still had the foresight to let me be Zhang Chen's little brother. Anyway, I have gone on the wrong path. Holding Zhang Chen's thigh tightly is the true meaning of following my heart." If Lu Yang, the great elder of Zhifeng, heard this, he would be so angry that he would vomit 3 liters of blood on the spot. The reason why Lu Yang proposed to let Zhang Hu serve as Zhang Chen's younger brother was because the influence effect would be better at close range. Little did I know. Zhang actually went on an evil path. Suddenly, Zhang saw the 6th grade spiritual fire that left the body on its own after Xiao Shan's death. This thing is just right to give to senior brother as a certificate of surrender, Zhang nodded. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 162. The entrance to the Buddha's 6 hells. This place is desolate, with no grass growing. Whether it is the land under your feet or the stone walls and mountains, the color is red. The entrance to the 6 hells is inside a huge head. The head is more than 10 feet high. It is said that it is the head of the ancestor of the demon suppression palace after his death. There are 4 temples around the head, in which live the 4 great ascetic monks of the Buddha temple. The ascetic monks do not care about worldly affairs. Every day they are either practicing and chanting scriptures or on the way to chant scriptures. The status and strength of the 4 great ascetic monks are equivalent to the supreme elders of the Julian sect. And with these 4 monks guarding, no one has been able to escape from the Buddha's 6 hells in the 100 years since the Buddha temple was established. At this moment, after the Buddha bell rang loudly, the 4 ascetic monks had already gone to the Buddha temple. With a whoosh sound, Emperor Wu turned into bloodlight and came. After a faint glance at the huge head, he slowly walked in and entered the Buddha's 6 hells. Soon after he entered, a red figure floated from afar. It was Xuanhuan. Behind her, followed by Lu Wen, Lu Wu, and a big white tiger. Peak Master, the man just now seemed to be Mu Kuei, Lu Wen asked in surprise. Xuanhuan did not reply, her expression was a little solemn. She didn't know what happened, but she could feel that Mu Kuei's breath had changed, and the violent breath made her think of Emperor Wu. Although she noticed that things had changed, she still did not hesitate and walked into the head first. Lu Wen and Lu Wu were a little weak. After all, it was rumored that the Buddha's 6 hells could make people want to live but not want to die. Both of them had low cultivation, and they were afraid that they would die before they found Zhang Chen. You two will be sent to death if you go in, so you'd better stay outside. Xiaobai looked like a big sister and ordered before entering. The Lu brothers were a little entangled about this, but finally nodded and agreed. As Xiaobai said, with their cultivation, there was really no effect of going in. The first floor of the 6 hells of Buddha, the Joy Hell. When Xiaobai arrived here, he was shocked. It is said that the 6 hells of Buddha are cruel and terrifying, but what appeared in front of it at this time was an empty area surrounded by stone walls on all sides, with about 100 monks inside. These monks looked a little crazy, scattered in all directions, and behaved differently. Some of them stared at the stones on the ground, muttering constantly, crying with joy. Some looked at the smooth stone walls and laughed, some hugged a stone, kissing and laughing, which was extremely weird. This is the Joy Hell. As the name suggests, people in the Joy Hell will automatically see joyful pictures in front of their eyes, and laugh endlessly because of it. This sounds very happy, but if a person laughs for hundreds of years, even the most joyful things will become numb. Although the heart is numb, the laughter does not stop. It is said that many monks were tortured to the point of crying and laughing, and eventually died of laughter. Many monks also laughed wildly even when they committed suicide. The reason why Xiaobai was shocked was not because of those monks who laughed wildly, but because of a picture that appeared in front of him. In the picture, it was following Qingning to bury people alive. One shovel after another, tired but happy. Behind the tiger and the woman, there were thousands of graves. From a distance, those closely connected graves were pieced together to form the word against the sky. Ha ha! Xiaobai laughed for no reason. When he saw himself and Qingning in the picture throwing Lin Feng into the deep pit and preparing to bury him alive, he laughed even more happily. As he laughed, he moved again. He began to throw his 2 front paws on the ground, saying, I am a white tiger that can defy the heavens. If I defy the heavens, I will be a tiger of heaven. If I bury the son of destiny, maybe I will be the tiger of destiny. Ha ha. Peak master, come and dig. Stupid tiger. Glancing at it lightly, Xuanhuan sneered. But the next second, she was also stunned. What came into her eyes was a room of red silk. The red candles were swaying in the room, and she was wearing a phoenix crown and a red robe beside the bed, looking so happy and nervous. Squeak. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Zhang Chen, wearing a red robe of a groom, walked in with a slightly drunk face. Pick up the golden scale on the wooden table, he lifted the red veil, and looked at Xuanhuan with a drunken look. Master, you are so beautiful today, Zhang Chen said. Hearing this, Xuanhuan's cheeks turned red, and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. But the next second, she felt a pain in her heart again. Indeed. Seeing this scene, she was indeed happy, but this joy also strengthened her sense of guilt. Moreover, with her cultivation, it was difficult to be easily affected. Li. The sound of the phoenix suddenly rose. The phoenix fire was hot and like a wave, gushing out from Xuanhuan's body and stretching, and instantly enveloped the entire joy prison. The evil people in this layer generally have low cultivation and cannot resist at all. Being in the phoenix fire. The previous second, those monks were still laughing, and the next second they were burned by the phoenix fire and turned into white bones. The white bones were burned by the phoenix fire again, and turned into dust and dissipated. Before death, the monks finally woke up. Although the phoenix fire burned their bodies and made them extremely painful, they all had a smile of relief before they died. This is the Buddha's 6 hells, where life is worse than death. In a blink of an eye, Xuanhuan took the lives of hundreds of people. In the prison of joy where the monks had gathered just now, only she and a big white tiger who was still digging the ground and laughing so hard that tears were about to come out were left. Xuanhuan was not moved by this. When she went back to her 9th life, she said that this world should be destroyed. The reason why she didn't kill and destroy wantonly was because this world had Zhang Chen. Compared to destroying this world, being with Zhang Chen was her greatest desire. She kicked Xiaobai to the corner, and more violent phoenix fire appeared from Xuanhuan's body. The phoenix fire was raging, turning the happy prison into a fire prison. The phoenix fire burned the air and stone walls, devouring everything wherever it went, and the high-temperature air made a crackling sound similar to breaking. After several hours, crack. A clearer breaking sound sounded, and the surrounding space turned into fragments and shattered, and there was nothingness all around. Go. Xuanhuan whispered. The phoenix fire was controlled by her, gathered into the shape of a phoenix bird, and wrapped those space fragments. After several hours again, the space fragments disappeared in the phoenix fire, forming a drop of condensed blood essence, falling from the sky. Xuanhuan flipped her fair right palm, and the blood essence fell into her hand. It was just a guess before, the phoenix fire is the heavenly fire, it seems that it can really purify the hell, she whispered softly. She knew Zhang Chen's plan, but she didn't intend to sit back and watch. This time, she came to the 6 prisons with the idea of refining the 6 prisons with the phoenix fire, destroying Lin Feng's chance in advance. And this purpose has been successful. After all, there is already a drop of blood essence in her hand, and Lin Feng is destined to have no chance with the 6 prisons demon body. On the other hand, Xiaobai. In fact, when it was kicked away by Xuanhuan, it had already woken up. Seeing Xuanhuan looking at it, it remembered the miserable state of those cultivators before they died. Xiaobai shuddered immediately and said, "Beautiful master, I am a tiger, it is not delicious when roasted." Xuanhuan gave it a white eye. "Open your mouth," she said without question. Xiaobai did not dare to disobey and acted according to the order. Then, Xuanhuan threw the blood essence in her hand, and the blood essence flew directly into Xiaobai's mouth. Does it hurt? Xuanhuan asked again. Xiaobai shook his head. Is the blood flowing backwards, and is there a sign of explosion? Xuanhuan asked again. Explosion, Xiaobai was shocked. Will it explode if I eat that thing? If an ordinary cultivator or a demon beast takes the blood essence condensed from the ancient physique, it will indeed explode and die. Only cultivators who practice ancient techniques or have ancient physiques can bear it. Xuanhuan said bluntly, you are lucky. The concentration of ancient blood in your body meets the standard, and you will not explode for the time being. For the time being, Xiaobai exclaimed in surprise. Well, whether it will explode or not, we need to take other blood essences to know. I don't want to eat such a dangerous thing. Okay, I never force others. But if you don't eat it, then I will eat you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 163. Among the 6 hells of Buddha, the bottom is the hell of desire. Die. With the black sword swung down, Lin Feng killed the monk in front of him. At this time, he had lost the indifference he had when he first entered the 6th prison, and was replaced by a strong sense of exhaustion and a tired heart. In this lowest level of sexual hell, he not only has to face the temptation of various skeletal beauties, but also a strong sense of hunger and various tests of his desire to survive. Just now, Lin Feng had a hallucination. He actually met Lin Mubai. After the two of them fought, Lin Feng discovered that this person was not Lin Mubai at all, but a monk with the same build as Lin Mubai. What's going on? Lin Feng was confused as he took back the black knife. The test of the desire to survive will blind your vision, and you will see certain enemies as powerful enemies that you have experienced. It seems that Lin Mubai left a deep impression on you, old man Tianji said with deep meaning. Hearing this, Lin Feng's face turned red. Lin Mubai, a lunatic, scared him so much that he almost chopped him to death, which really made him feel like he was facing a formidable enemy. Putting aside the innate ability, this monk's combat power and cultivation level are equivalent to Lin Mubai. You can defeat him, which proves that you have the strength to defeat Lin Mubai. These 6 prisons are called prisons. But it's actually a big opportunity, old man Tianji said again. Lin Feng strongly agrees with this. After the battle just now, his cultivation level broke through again and he reached the earth element realm. When he left Juyin sect, he was only at the level of human Yuan, but now, only a few months have passed, and he has already broken through to a great realm. Such a breakthrough speed was something he couldn't even imagine before. In fact, it's not that he doesn't dare to think about it. The main reason is that he has been in Juyin sect and he has to be wary of those crazy people at all times. He really can't practice with peace of mind. But it's fine now. After leaving Juyin sect, his fortune turned around. With the help of Buddhist relics, old man Tianji's ghostly aura has been basically eliminated. His own strength has also greatly increased, and he has sufficient confidence. At this moment, let alone Lin Mubai, even if Zhang Chen is in front of him, he dares to touch it. Although Zhang Chen's ancient swordsmanship is a bit troublesome, if old man Tianji gives him some soul power, he can still dodge even if he is defeated. Haha, old man Tianji, I wrongly blamed you. It seems that this Buddha temple is really my chance, Lin Feng suddenly laughed. In fact, since he came to the Buddha temple, he has been feeling weak. After all, old man Tianji once said that Juyin sect was his chance, but the result? That place is full of crazy people. Facing these lunatics, he had no power to resist and was tortured repeatedly. Humph, what a fuss, old man Tianji said disdainfully, you haven't got the real big opportunity yet. That is the 6 hell suppressing demon body. If you can get it, you will definitely soar into the sky. When mentioning this matter, Lin Feng became even more excited. Although he has never met Mu Kuei, he also knows that Mu Kuei refines his body and becomes extremely powerful. Now he is an Earth Yuan cultivator. If he goes all out, he can fight against ordinary Tian Yuan cultivators. Under such circumstances, if he becomes the 6 hell-suppressing demonic body again, wouldn't it take seconds and seconds? Just thinking about it makes Lin Feng extremely excited. He has decided. If you successfully obtain the 6 prison demon suppressing body, you must go back to Juyan sect and torture Zhang Chen, Zhang Lianyu, and others. Xuanhuan I can't beat him, but he is so awesome, the top management of Juyan sect will definitely be impressed. When? Maybe people from the Juyan sect would beg him to stay in the Juyan sect. As for whether he will continue to stay in Juyan sect, it still depends on the performance of the sect's senior officials. Haha. Thinking of this, Lin Feng laughed out loud again. In this way, everything is recovered. By the way, why didn't you remind me just now that the monk was not Lin Mubai at all, but my hallucination, he wondered again. It's not that I don't want to be reminded, but I have also been affected by these 6 hells. Although I can use my soul power to offset this influence, my soul power is limited now, so it is better to save some old man. Tianji replied. That's it, Lin Feng suddenly realized. He decided secretly. After getting a great opportunity, if the top management of Juyan sect begs him to stay in the sect, then he will give him the Juyan soul fetus in exchange. Otherwise, he will draw a clear line with Juyan sect and have nothing to do with him from now on. Then, he went to the Ghost Ridge and Soul Abyss in person. Although he also knew that such an important treasure as the Juyan soul fetus was far beyond his ability, he still had to give it a try. What if you really get it? At that time, old man Tianji's soul power will be completely restored, and then help him get a glimpse of the ever-changing secret. I believe that as long as he prepares for a rainy day, even if the destiny changes again, it will be nothing more than a training on his growth path. Keeping this in mind, and after making some adjustments, Lin Feng set off again. According to what old man Tianji said, there is no correct path in this hell of desire, only wandering aimlessly, and then constantly defeating various tests of primitive desire. When it's almost done, this hell of desire will break open and disintegrate on its own, turning into essence and blood. While walking, Lin Feng's pupils suddenly shrank. He saw someone. Dressed in black, with an evil smile on his lips, he walked as if the entire 6 prisons belonged to him, an extremely arrogant monk. And that monk's face was very familiar to Lin Feng. It's Zhang Chen. This Zhang Chen must be an illusion, Lin Feng analyzed secretly. After all, in his opinion, Zhang Chen should be in Juyan sect now. Even if he leaves the sect and goes out, he won't be able to come here. Old man Tianji was a little unsure. Because Zhang Chen, who was walking towards them, acted exactly like Zhang Chen in his memory. If this was also an illusion, it was too real. Junior brother, the senior brother is here to pick you up, Zhang Chen came with a smile. Hearing this, Lin Feng's face darkened. He couldn't help but sigh. This illusion was indeed very real, perfectly restoring Zhang Chen's ugly face, which made him extremely disgusted. I can't beat Zhang Chen in reality, but can I beat your illusion? Lin Feng was furious. While speaking, he had summoned the black knife and strode forward to chop it down. After dodging the knife sideways, Zhang Chen's face remained calm. Amitabha, 6th junior brother, you have been possessed by the devil, so let me, the senior brother, save you. He put his hands together and said with Buddha's light on his head. The Buddha's light was dazzling, which made Lin Feng stunned. And after a brief shock, puff, Lin Feng almost burst out laughing. He just praised the illusion for being real, but who would have thought it could not be more fake? Who is Zhang Chen? The only son of the Fengling Zhang family, the eldest brother of Zhifeng of the Juyan sect. How could such a person know Buddhist skills? And he wanted to save him. For a moment, Lin Feng lost all his fighting spirit and just thought it was extremely funny. He forced himself to laugh and asked, "How do you plan to save me? Chanting or knocking on the wooden fish?" Neither Zhang Chen shook his head. "Oh? Do you plan to influence me with just one word Ba?" Lin Feng asked. The answer to him was Zhang Chen's faint smile. Suddenly, Zhang Chen jumped into the air, formed several Buddhist seals with his right hand, and shouted, "Junior brother, I can see at a glance that you are a beast. Great and mighty dragon." Boom! The Buddhist Dharma suddenly pressed down, indestructible. The abrupt scene and words made Lin Feng stunned. When he came to his senses and was about to fight back, he was pressed to the ground by the heavy Dharma again, unable to move. "Flying dragon in the sky," Zhang Chen shouted again. Roar! A golden dragon appeared out of thin air and crashed into Lin Feng's body from top to bottom. The powerful impact force immediately caused Lin Feng's blood to flow backwards, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of dirty blood. Stepping on Lin Feng's head, Zhang Chen put his hands together and said, Ba, junior brother, how about my hand of salvation? Do you understand anything?" When Lin Feng heard this, he almost bit his teeth. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 164. This illusion is too strong. Lin Feng complained bitterly in his heart. The illusion Zhang Chen, who was stepping on his head at this moment, not only had the earth elemental cultivation, but also had profound Buddhist teachings. The great power heavenly dragon who killed him in seconds was very likely to be a top-grade secret book. How to fight this? He was almost killed in seconds just after they met. But even so, Lin Feng had no intention of giving up. He gritted his teeth, and the 7 pure annihilation technique was fully activated, bursting out all his cultivation in one breath. Gathered on the black knife in his hand. After barely breaking free from the suppression of Buddhist teachings, he backhanded a knife. Zhang Chen leaned back, and the black knife brushed past his nose. Taking the opportunity, Lin Feng jumped up and pulled the distance between the two. Holding the black knife, he was sweating. His full strength attack did not pose any threat to this illusion. What's more infuriating is that, at this moment, he looked extremely embarrassed, but the illusion Zhang Chen still had a faint smile on his face. "This illusion is not right, it is better to retreat first," the old man Tianji advised. Retreat, Lin Feng was unwilling. If he had to retreat when facing an illusion today, how could he defeat the real Zhang Chen in the future? What if he ran away again and again and again and affected his Tao heart? While thinking, Zhang Chen moved again, and the Buddha's light on his body became more dazzling. The Buddha's light condensed a layer of golden clothes on his skin, and his figure gradually became larger as the golden clothes covered him, and in an instant he turned into a golden body several feet high. He put his hands together and murmured, Om Mani Padme Hum. The golden words formed by the 6-character seal were spit out from his mouth. While rotating, they kept getting bigger, and the golden light on the words became stronger and stronger, illuminating the dark desire prison like a golden world. Lin Feng looked at the floating 6-character seal, his eyes slightly dull. The obsessions, desires, and other emotions in his heart were all converted and erased by the seal, and the whole person was like a sage, without desires or demands. He threw the black knife on the ground and slowly walked towards Zhang Chen. Just as he was about to worship, hoping that Zhang Chen would save him. "Wake up! This is the evil monk of Buddhism," the old man Tianji shouted. And at the moment the voice fell, a cold air rushed into Lin Feng's head, making the latter wake up instantly. Pulling the distance again, Lin Feng was scared. He is the son of destiny. But just now, he actually had the idea of kneeling down to the illusion in front of him. This illusion is simply So terrifying. I just used my soul power to check the true face of this person. But the result is that he is not an illusion, but the real Zhang Chen. The old man Tianji's voice was extremely solemn. What? Lin Feng was not feeling well. It turned out to be the real Zhang Chen? He has come to the Buddha temple to be imprisoned, but Zhang Chen is still unwilling to let him go. And he clearly remembers it. A few months ago, Zhang Chen was a human Yuan cultivator, but now he has become a ground Yuan. He has even learned several top-grade Buddhist techniques. How can this growth rate be faster than that of him, the son of destiny? This child is weird, and we can't leave him alone anymore. The old man Tianji also realized the seriousness of the matter and said seriously, I can't sense the existence of Zhang Chen's protector. This is the best time to kill him. But don't you have limited soul power? What if you get on me again and fall into a coma again? Lin Feng was a little worried. During the time when the old man Tianji was sleeping, he was really too depressed. If he had no other choice, he would not want to repeat the same mistake. It doesn't matter, I will keep some soul power to stay awake. Today, this stepping stone must be crushed. Otherwise, there will be endless troubles, the old man Tianji said again. Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded. He was so shocked just now that he almost forgot that no matter how strong Zhang Chen was, he was only a Yuandan cultivator. But if the old man Tianji took over, his combat power could be comparable to that of the upper four realm cultivators. As long as no one helped him, he could really fight. Okay. After slowly exhaling a breath of turbid air, Lin Feng let go of his mind. The old man Tianji was also not vague, and immediately controlled his body. A visible cold air came out of his body, and being in the cold air, his cultivation breath instantly rose. Very quickly. The old man Tianji controlled Lin Feng's body, slowly leaving the ground and floating in the air. His eyes looked down at Zhang Chen. How can you learn the top secret book? Tell me, and you will die happily, the old man Tianji asked. This matter is very important. Because even he can't let the Yuandan cultivator practice the top secret book. If this secret can be asked from Zhang Chen, then Lin Feng's growth in the future will undoubtedly become faster and stronger. Old man, don't you claim to be well versed in history, destiny, and the future? Zhang Chen sneered, why don't you guess? If you guess right, I'll give you a ride. When the old man Tianji heard this, his eyes widened. His identity was exposed again. Last time when Zhang Lianyu wanted to press Lin Feng to death in the toilet, he also pointed out his identity. He has always been brooding over this matter, wondering if it was because his former enemies came to his door and deliberately revealed it. He never thought. In addition to Zhang Lianyu, Zhang Chen also knew of his existence. You can't stay, the old man Tianji's eyes turned cold. After saying that, he grabbed the air with his right hand. A dry big hand condensed with spiritual energy appeared, grabbing from top to bottom towards the top of Zhang Chen's head. Seeing the big hand coming, Zhang Chen did not dodge or avoid, but just moved his mind. A golden light flashed. The next second, the dry big hand actually grabbed an ancient imperial bell. The imperial bell was full of obscure runes, and the light on it was like a dragon, swimming around the bell. The attack of the dry big hand made the ancient bell tremble slightly. Boom! The ancient bell just rang lightly, and it shattered the dry big hand, and the aftermath almost made the old man Tianji fall from the air. This is an ancient artifact. After stabilizing his body, the old man Tianji was shocked. He acted decisively and never dragged his feet. Knowing that it was difficult to kill Zhang Chen with this ancient artifact as protection, he fled directly to a distance and planned to run away. Zhang Chen had expected this and chased after him on the green lotus. In terms of speed, the old man Tianji was slightly better. But after all, his soul power was limited and he could not last long. Therefore, as long as Zhang Chen keeps following him, he will catch up sooner or later. The two chased each other for half an hour. Sensing that his soul power was being consumed too much, the old man Tianji finally stopped. Then he retracted his spirit ring and handed the control of his body back to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was full of questions as he held his body again. What do you mean? He can't beat him, and he can't run away, so he was beaten? Do you still want to save face? Ahem, the old man Tianji coughed lightly to cover up his embarrassment and said, you are young and the son of destiny, so you can bear it better. Lin Feng was speechless. Don't worry, you will be beaten at most. Think about it carefully. Zhang Chen never thought of killing you, otherwise you would not have escaped when you were in Lingshanfang. The old man Tianji comforted him again. Thinking about it carefully, Lin Feng felt that it made sense. Not only that. When the sect tested him, Zhang Chen had complained for him. When he was about to take the poison pill, Zhang Chen had stopped him. Generally speaking, Zhang Chen just liked to beat him. But even so, it was not okay. After all, who likes to be beaten? Especially him, the son of destiny. Just when Lin Feng began to think about whether to use some provocation to get the old man Tianji to come out and get beaten. Boom! A blood-red figure with flamboyant red hair fell from the sky. The man landed in front of Lin Feng, stepped on the ground in an instant, and the violent auras swept around. This person was the Emperor Wu. The Emperor Wu saw Zhang Chen, who was chasing him quickly, at a glance, and immediately laughed cruelly. Zhang Chen. Die. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 165. Emperor Wu's idea was simple. Since he can't shake the power in the 9th life, he will destroy Zhang Chen in the real world. No matter what Zhang Chen's purpose is, anyone who dares to influence him will die. On the other hand, Lin Feng. After hearing what Emperor Wu said, he was stunned at first, and then ecstatic. Although he couldn't see clearly the specific cultivation level of Emperor Wu, he also knew that it was absolutely difficult to match him. Zhang Chen will definitely not be able to survive a single round in his hands. Happiness comes too suddenly. Lin Feng was still desperate just now, and he had already begun to think about the size of the screams when he was beaten. But now, someone is coming to trouble Zhang Chen. And he still wants to kill Zhang Chen. Haha. This is destiny, Lin Feng laughed. Destiny. After hearing these two words, Emperor Wu slowly turned his head and stared at Lin Feng with a pair of red eyes. Well. Lin Feng subconsciously shrank his neck. Why did you provoke him? Old man Tianji yelled. This man is bathed in blood, with golden veins and cracked bones. He must be the Emperor of Wu Lai. Martial Emperor body? Isn't it Mu Kuei? Lin Feng was shocked. He knew that Mu Kuei was very strong, but he didn't expect to be so strong. Just standing in front of him, he couldn't muster any courage to resist. I feel the aura of the great emperor from this person's body. This aura is very weak, as if the source of the emperor has been lost. The old man Tianji was extremely solemn and analyzed in detail. If my prediction is correct, this Mu Kuei is probably the reincarnation of the great emperor. And now, the memory of the great emperor dominates the body. In other words, what is in front of you was once a real great emperor. Great emperor. Lin Feng set off huge waves in his heart. Swallowed hard. Such an awesome existence was actually in front of him. Are you still staring at yourself right now? If the great emperor suddenly attacks him, isn't that the end of the world? He feels it. The emperor in front of him looked at him with extremely unkind eyes. In that increasingly violent and crazy aura, obvious murderous intent began to appear. Goo. After swallowing hard, Lin Feng's alarm bells rang in his heart and he was already dripping with cold sweat. Mu Kuei. At this moment, Zhang Chen chased after him. Hearing this, Emperor Wu withdrew his gaze from Lin Feng and turned to Jiang Chen. The two looked at each other. I am Emperor Wu. I only have martial arts in my heart, and I can break through the sky. Anyone who blocks me will be killed, and anyone who stands in my way will die, Emperor Wu said coldly. When Jiang Chen heard these words, he immediately frowned. He understood instantly. Mu Kui's martial emperor memory seal was broken open. But at this moment, the person standing in front of him was not Mu Kui, but the Emperor Wu who broke through the sky. This plot is simply ridiculous. After 9 reincarnations, although Mu Kui often fell into anger, he never broke through Emperor Wu's memory seal. But now, I didn't know that evil pen actually caused Mu Kui to break through the memory seal, allowing this crazy martial emperor to come and take control of his body. What's more important is that this Emperor Wu is obviously coming for him, and the person who comes is not good. Jiang Chen first checked about Emperor Wu's cultivation level, and then found out. I just can't understand it. There is no doubt about it. With such a huge difference in cultivation, even if he had ancient weapons, he would not be able to defeat it. The 6 hells of Buddha can block all spiritual consciousness, and even his protector Chen Sheng cannot perceive the situation inside. In other words, unless he crushes the last jade slip to save his life, it will be difficult for him to escape today. The life-saving jade slip is the last resort. As long as it is crushed, many strong men from the Zhang family will come across the territory. With the strength of the Zhang family, it is not difficult to suppress an emperor with no memory. But this will definitely speed up the Zhang family's destruction. Things get extremely troublesome and dangerous. For himself and for the Zhang family, Jiang Chen had to take another approach. Gritting his teeth, he pointed at Lin Feng's nose and said, "This man is the son of destiny. Follow the destiny and obey the destiny. If you kill him, you can defy heaven." As soon as this statement came out, Emperor Wu was really shaken. He looked at Lin Feng again, his eyes cruel and murderous. And Jiang Chen's attempt to divert trouble to the east directly confused Lin Feng Qian. Lin Feng soon realized. This Emperor Wu may not be able to deal with God, so he is so hostile to him, the son of destiny. I'm not Tian. Lin Feng quickly denied. Shut up, old man, Tianji interrupted loudly, saying in an unprecedented panic, others can deny your identity as the son of destiny, but you can't. If so, sooner or later you will be abandoned by the law of heaven. This made Lin Feng subconsciously shut up. Actually, think about it. The son of destiny is the darling of heaven and earth. If he really denies his identity, he will abandon his destiny. In this way, it will naturally be abandoned by heaven sooner or later. He had always known about this, and he just wanted to blurt it out in a moment of urgency. Seeing him suddenly shut up, Jiang Chen also breathed a sigh of relief. If Lin Feng really gave up his destiny, then his plan to ascend would probably come to nothing. After all, without destiny, Lin Feng would have been killed sooner or later with his character. The reason why he sold Lin Feng just now was because he knew that even if Emperor Wu really took action, Lin Feng would most likely not die due to the blessing of destiny. Of course, high probability does not mean absolute. Jiang Chen admitted that he was gambling, but it was better than burping, right? The atmosphere suddenly fell silent, except for the heavy breathing of Emperor Wu. Seeing Emperor Wu's killing intent getting stronger and stronger, Lin Feng closed his eyes in despair. The enemy is too strong, and he can't resist at all. He can only gamble on fate. Jiang Chen also secretly used the Qinglian sword technique, planning to run away as soon as Emperor Wu made his move. Who would have expected? Emperor Wu suddenly looked away and shouted, "Jiang Chen, suffer death." Jiang Chen was confused. What hatred and injustice is this? The martial emperor, who defied heaven and destroyed the emperor's origin, and proclaimed his memory, actually left his destiny's son unkilled and turned around to kill himself? Sure enough, Can't crazy people think logically? What he didn't know was, in Emperor Wu's opinion, it is the law of heaven that defies heaven. Lin Feng can only be regarded as the son of heaven at best. Even if he kills him, he cannot truly defy heaven. But as long as Zhang Chen is killed, he will definitely be able to get rid of the control of that mysterious power. After all, that power is clearly helping Zhang Chen. Lin Feng was also stunned, but soon his heart blossomed again. He looked at Emperor Wu with admiration. I thought he was a crazy man, but he turned out to be a good person. Yes, he is a good person. In Lin Feng's view, all those who go against Zhang Chen and want to kill Zhang Chen are all good people. Just as Emperor Wu raised his fist, he planned to kill Zhang Chen with one punch. And a jade slip also appeared in Zhang Chen's hand. Ah! Emperor Wu suddenly covered his head and screamed. The intense pain made his breath fluctuate, and the blood in his eyes gradually disappeared. Emperor Wu noticed that Mu Kuei was resisting. Even though Mu Kuei had been suppressed by him and should have fallen into a deep sleep, he still instinctively stopped him from attacking Zhang Chen. Coward! A coward controlled by others, Emperor Wu yelled. Mu Kuei's resistance became stronger and stronger, and his cultivation level declined rapidly. In just a few breaths, he fell out of the upper four realms. Sensing that his cultivation level was still declining, Emperor Wu ignored the pain and immediately punched out. Zhang Chen! Die! He roared. Then, this punch hit Lin Feng. Zhang Chen looked confused. He watched helplessly as Lin Feng was blasted several feet away, the blood he spat out drew an arc in the air, and then he fell to the ground. Lin Feng was injured and fell to the ground, and Lin Feng was even more confused. Isn't Zhang Chen going to die? Why did you hit me? He couldn't believe it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 166. The Emperor Wu was also a little confused. He clearly wanted to kill Zhang Chen just now, but the moment he attacked, his body automatically changed the target of attack. As the pain in his mind became more and more intense, he finally understood. It must be because of Mu Kuei's strong resistance at the critical moment. At this moment, his cultivation has fallen to the Reincarnation realm, and he can no longer achieve the effect of a one-hit kill. But he did not give up. While the pain in his mind was slightly reduced, he shouted again, Zhang Chen, die. After saying that, he jumped up. Landed in front of Lin Feng. Another punch. Bang. The power of this punch was not small, and it directly smashed Lin Feng into the ground, creating a deep pit. After being hit by 2 punches in a row, Lin Feng's bones were broken in many places, and his internal organs were wailing. Seeing that the Emperor Wu's lips opened and closed, he seemed to want to say something again. Lin Feng saw a stone cave not far away that was just big enough for one person to hide, so he quickly crawled forward and hid in it. He also saw that something was wrong with Emperor Wu, and planned to hide to avoid the disaster. Zhang Chen, die. Sure enough, Emperor Wu's roar sounded again. And then, Lin Feng watched helplessly as a big hand reached into the stone cave and dragged him out. Another punch. Puff. Lin Feng was beaten to spit blood again, and felt that he was really going to die. My name is not Zhang Chen, he shouted loudly. At this time, Emperor Wu was at a critical moment of fighting with Mu Kuei for control of his body, so he naturally had no time to reply. Even if he had time, he would not pay attention to him with his personality. The next scene made Zhang Chen dumbfounded. I saw Emperor Wu constantly shouting Zhang Chen, die, and then punched Lin Feng one punch after another. Zhang Chen couldn't count how many punches there were. The only thing he knew was, Lin Feng was almost beaten to death. Even though he had been beaten black and blue, and his limbs were broken, no nobleman came to help. This god has given up on Lin Feng, Zhang Chen exclaimed in his heart. But he felt it was impossible. Although Lin Feng's actions in this life were indeed embarrassing for the Son of Destiny, it was not enough to make God give up. Since God did not give up, it was determined that Lin Feng would not die. But if this continued, Lin Feng would definitely die. Zhang Chen frowned, and for a moment he could not understand what God wanted to do. "Big brother, save me," Lin Feng's cry for help suddenly sounded. Suddenly, Zhang Chen understood. This god has learned to be smart. God knew that he would not let Lin Feng die, so he did not let other nobles appear to help. In other words, at this moment, in the eyes of this god, he is Lin Feng's noble. Zhang Chen was unhappy and sneered. In the 9 reincarnations, no matter how he struggled, he could not get rid of the aura of the villain. But at this moment, this god actually handed Lin Feng's life to him, the villain. Maybe if Zhang Chen was determined not to save him, there would still be other nobles, but he really didn't dare to gamble. 9 lives and thousands of years, suffering. Although the plot of this life is a bit broken, although Xuanhuan and other heroines have gradually fallen into madness. Although in the long run, if he uses the system again, he may really be able to defy the heavens in this life. But, he is tired. In this life, he doesn't want to defy the heavens, he just wants to live as he pleases, and then ascend to other worlds. He was killed by Lin Feng 9 times. He was accused and cursed by the world for 9 lives because of Lin Feng. To say that he doesn't hate, it must be false. But these hatreds are really insignificant compared to leaving this world. This world is the real prison for him. And in this prison, the blood and hope in his heart have long been wiped out. Only by leaving, he can feel that he is still alive. Of course, if he has a chance to come back after ascending, he will still chop Lin Feng into pieces and feed him to the dog. But he would not choose to stay in this world just for revenge, and continue to reincarnate endlessly. This is just a matter of each taking what he needs. Zhang Chen shook his head. God wants to protect Lin Feng, the Son of Destiny, to grow up. He wants to use Lin Feng to complete the system task and ascend to other worlds. So Lin Feng can't die. So Zhang Chen can't gamble. Zheng. Suddenly, the sword rang loudly. Zhang Chen had a red blood spirit sword in his hand, and the spirit sword swung down, cutting out a blood-red sword energy. The sword energy broke through the air and slashed directly at the arm of the emperor. The fighting instinct made the emperor let go of the big hand that was holding Lin Feng tightly and quickly retracted it. The next moment, Zhang Chen stepped on the green lotus and blocked between the emperor and Lin Feng. He can't die. Zhang Chen looked directly at the emperor. When he said this, he kicked Lin Feng. The sudden situation made Emperor Wu stunned, and he instinctively asked, "Why? You clearly wanted me to kill him before." Of course, he couldn't tell the real reason, but for a moment, Zhang Chen couldn't find a suitable reason. He looked back at Lin Feng. "Pa!" He raised his hand and slapped Lin Feng. Sure enough. No matter what, as long as he saw Lin Feng, he couldn't help wanting to beat him up. Looking directly at Emperor Wu again, Zhang Chen said, "Just think of it as he is my junior brother." Emperor Wu was silent. Lin Feng was stunned. After 9 generations, Emperor Wu had learned most of Zhang Chen's affairs. He never expected it. A person like Zhang Chen, who is hated by the world and misunderstood, is actually willing to protect his enemies for such a reason. Is this goodness? Emperor Wu closed his eyes and whispered in his heart. At this moment, he was moved. Even if he was only martial in his heart and abandoned all other emotions, he could not help but feel disturbed at this moment. Also moved was Lin Feng. He has always regarded Zhang Chen as a stepping stone and a mortal enemy. The desperate call just now was based on the idea of treating a dead horse as a living horse doctor. But when Zhang Chen really appeared in front of him and protected him with his body, he just found out. Zhang Chen's back is so majestic. Although Zhang Chen came to save him, he still kicked him and slapped him. But there is no doubt that it did save his life. Lin Feng was extremely confused. He still hated Zhang Chen, but he couldn't remain indifferent. Zhang Chen, I will remember this kindness. If one day you and I have to fight to the death, I will definitely spare your life if I win. Finally, he handed over his hand. Spare my life, Zhang Chen was stunned. Not bad, Lin Feng nodded and said confidently, although you are a bit annoying, you also have some merits. He. Zhang Chen smiled. He just had to protect this Ascension tool man for his own plan. Who would have guessed? This tool man is actually grateful? Won't you kill him? It's an unforgivable crime. Ji. Suddenly, the sword roared again. In a flash of sword light, the bloody sword in Zhang Chen's hand directly penetrated Lin Feng's lower abdomen. Blood spurted out, and Lin Feng's expression twisted in pain. Why, he asked in shock. Junior brother, it seems there is some misunderstanding between you and me. Zhang Chen smiled cruelly and replied, I prefer to torture you than to kill you. And before I torture you to the fullest, no one can kill you. Do you understand? After seeing this scene, Emperor Wu twitched the corner of his mouth and decided to take back what he just said. Lin Feng's expression became even more horrified. And the emotion that had just filled my heart disappeared at this moment, converted into deep disgust. He also decided to take back what he just said. I swear to kill you, Lin Feng gritted his teeth, his eyes bloodshot. Zhang Chen was satisfied now and pulled out the bleeding sword. At the same time, Lin Feng fell to the ground unconscious. Seeing Emperor Wu looking directly at him, his expression turned unkind again. Tisk tisk, the Emperor Wu of the early human Yuan dynasty? Staring at me? Just now, you let me die. Zhang Chen was disdainful and suddenly shouted, while you are sick, I will kill you. The mighty Tianlong. Suddenly, Emperor Wu's expression froze. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 167. Buddhism covered the top, and the golden dragon suddenly appeared. Dai Tianlong Zhang Chen used it very smoothly, and felt a strong sense of substitution. The most important thing is, under the blessing of the Buddha Sutra, although Dai Tianlong is a top-grade secret book, it does not consume much of his vitality. Therefore, he used this trick again and again. But Emperor Wu is still Emperor Wu after all, far from the enemies Zhang Chen had encountered before. Facing the pressure from the top of Buddhism, Emperor Wu just glanced at it lightly and punched out. Bang! After the fist came into contact with Buddhism, Buddhism was directly defeated after a dull sound. Not only that. Seeing the golden dragon attacking, Emperor Wu did not dodge or avoid, but grabbed the golden dragon horn with both hands and wrestled with it. The next scene opened Zhang Chen's eyes. Although the golden dragon was thick and solid, and the impact was not small, it could not knock Emperor Wu back half a step. Not only that. During the wrestling match, Emperor Wu actually had the strength to retract one hand and punched the golden dragon's head. Destroy! The voice fell with the fist. The golden dragon was smashed to the ground by Emperor Wu, and after struggling for 2 times, it turned into starlight and dissipated. This made Zhang Chen's mouth twitch. The Emperor Wu is the Emperor Wu, even if he only has memories and his cultivation is only human Yuan, the fighting power he bursts out is far beyond the ordinary cultivators. In fact, Zhang Chen didn't want to fight with Emperor Wu, but he had no choice. The Emperor Wu always wanted him to die, and he couldn't escape, so he might as well take advantage of the Emperor Wu's cultivation to fall and fight. Fortunately, Zhang Chen had a lot of trump cards, Dai Tianlong was useless, and he still had the ancient swordsmanship and ancient weapons at the bottom of the box. The reason why he didn't use them at the first time was because both of them consumed too much vitality. And, Emperor Wu looked directly at Zhang Chen and suddenly spoke. Zhang Chen's face suddenly sank. Can this be tolerated? Without any hesitation, he stood with his sword in hand, eyes slightly closed. The blood of the flame blood dragon sword in his hand was surging, and a stern sword intent burst out from his body, and it became stronger and sharper, like a peerless sword, trying to pierce the 6 prisons directly. Ancient sword Dao, Emperor Wu was stunned. Zhang Chen did not reply, and continued to hold back his big move. Originally, if the opponent interrupted the situation, it would be very dangerous. But he knew very well that Emperor Wu would never act like this. Because that was Emperor Wu, a madman who was so proud that he wanted to break the sky and was unwilling to be controlled by anyone. This kind of madman would never take advantage of others, but would only expect the other party to show all his strength. As Zhang Chen expected. After a brief shock, Emperor Wu directly folded his arms and waited quietly. Finally, the big move was charged. Zhang Chen suddenly opened his eyes, and a strange image of a white-haired old man holding a sword appeared behind him. He danced with the old man at the same time, and murmured, "Ancient sword moves, breaking the sky." Zeng. The sound of swords continued, and the sword energy of 100 feet condensed. The sword intent contained in it seemed to be able to penetrate everything in the world. Seeing the sword energy of 100 feet coming, Emperor Wu was not surprised or panicked, but commented, "You are only a small success in swordsmanship, but you can contain sword intent in this move. Such talent is unparalleled in the world, and you have the posture of a sword emperor. But too weak." Emperor Wu suddenly shouted, and the golden pattern in his body cracked his bones and made a crackling sound. The blood that wrapped him seemed to have life and moved again and gathered together. The golden pattern on the bone surface in his body was like an ant, emerging from his skin and merging with the blood. After a while, the blood and golden pattern condensed into muscle, condensed into armor like golden blood, wrapping Emperor Wu. The blood light on his body spread for 100 miles, and the dazzling golden pattern was like thousands of golden sword beams, piercing the darkness of the entire desire prison. Then, the 100-foot sword energy attacked. Break. The Emperor Wu punched out with both fists in succession, using his flesh to resist the 100-foot sword energy. He was obviously only a human Yuan cultivator, but the fighting power he burst out actually blocked the 100-foot sword energy and prevented it from moving forward. What was even more shocking was, with another loud shout, the Emperor Wu changed his fists into claws and actually tore the 100-foot sword energy in half. After the sword energy was divided into two, it rushed out from his left and right sides, leaving 2 very deep gullies on the ground, and disappeared after a long time. The Wu Lai Emperor body does not need any weapons, because both blood and bones can be comparable to spiritual weapons. Clapping his hands, the Emperor Wu said calmly. But as soon as the voice fell, his pupils shrank again. "Where are the people?" Zhang Chen, who was just in front of him, disappeared at this moment. Could it be that he was taking advantage of him to resist the sword energy and ran away? Suddenly, the Emperor Wu realized something and raised his head immediately. What caught his eyes was obscure ancient text, like a dragon flowing light. At some point, Zhang Chen actually jumped above him, stepping on the ancient imperial bell, trying to cover him in it. Feeling the power of the ancient imperial bell, the Emperor Wu shouted again, and raised his hands suddenly, like lifting a tripod, and lifted the ancient bell above his head. At the same time, Zhang Chen jumped from the top of the bell and swung his sword in the air, another ancient sword style. The 100-foot sword energy appeared again and hit the ancient bell. Dong! The ancient bell was struck, and the sound waves rippled. The first to bear the brunt of it, The Emperor Wu felt dizzy, his blood and bones trembled, and the blood gold coat wrapped around him showed signs of disintegration. Haha. Although there was a crisis, the Emperor Wu did not panic but laughed. He suddenly let go, and before the ancient bell could cover him, he punched the sky dozens of times. Each of these punches was extremely powerful. The strong wind alone could stop the ancient bell from falling. When the last punch was thrown, the ancient bell was actually blown away by the air wave it created. After spinning many times in the air, it fell to the ground dimly. Haha, Junior. If you have any tricks, just use them, Emperor Wu laughed loudly. From Ant to Junior, the change of this title is tantamount to recognition of Zhang Chen. And the answer to Emperor Wu was the green lotus. There were blood-red meridians in the green lotus leaves, which looked like blood vessels at first glance. The dense blood lotus bloomed with Emperor Wu as the center, and then turned into thousands of blood lotus sword chi, slashing rapidly at various parts of his body. As a last resort, Emperor Wu had to resist the sword chi with his flesh again. But he soon discovered. Under such dense and powerful sword chi, his blood gold coat actually collapsed for a moment. At the moment of collapse, a sword energy accurately cut his chest. Although it was not fatal, it left a bloody wound. This is the sword move that combines the Green Lotus sword art and the Flame Blood Dragon sword. The Green Lotus sword art can increase the power of the sword energy. The Flame Blood Dragon sword is the best spiritual energy, and the sword energy is blood red, so it becomes 1,000 sword energy like a blood lotus. The combination of the two, although the power is not as strong as the ancient sword art, it is not much different. After everything calmed down, although the Emperor Wu did not move, he looked at his wound in a daze. The Emperor Wu. He was actually injured by a junior. Although due to his low cultivation, he could only use the Wu Lai Emperor body to the extreme to compete, but he needed to understand one thing. His perception of martial arts is much higher than Zhang Chen. But, he was still injured. I lost, the Emperor Wu said frankly. Hearing this, Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. From the beginning, he knew that even if the martial emperor's cultivation level was only at the level of Ren Yuan, he would not win. The reason why he put all his strength into the battle was because he knew the character of the martial emperor. Although the martial emperor was violent and bloodthirsty, he was also a straightforward person. He never denied his defeat. That's right, it was a defeat. As a martial emperor, even if his cultivation level was low now, if he was injured by a junior, it would be an undoubted defeat. At this time, Zhang Chen's vitality was basically exhausted. If his cultivation level had not broken through to Diyuan this time, he would not have been able to use the ancient sword Dao twice in a row, and he would not even have the energy to use other martial arts secrets. Thank you. After saying this, Zhang Chen turned around and wanted to leave. Wait, the martial emperor stopped him. This made Zhang Chen frown. Logically speaking, since the arrogant martial emperor had admitted defeat, there should be no reason to continue to want to attack him. Is it because the plot collapsed too much, so the martial emperor's personality also collapsed? He couldn't help but think. With the idea of not being afraid of 1,000 but being prepared for the worst, Zhang Chen secretly became alert. Who would have thought? You are very good. You are qualified to go against the heaven with me, Emperor Wu praised. Zhang Chen felt a little dizzy. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 168. Zhang Chen felt that this Emperor Wu was not only crazy, but also sick. Just admit defeat and lead him against the will of heaven? Isn't this funny? This is so unbelievable, how could he ascend? Before he ascends, Emperor Wu cannot succeed, otherwise his plan will definitely come to nothing. The more he thought about it, the more Zhang Chen felt a headache. The plot of this life is really ridiculous. The point is that he cannot directly refuse Emperor Wu's invitation. Otherwise, if Emperor Wu realizes that he is not a little friend who defies heaven at all, he might say Jiang Chen, suffer death again. Helpless, Jiang Chen had no choice but to start cheating again. To go against the will of heaven, you need to do it step by step. You have to keep a low profile, and haste makes waste. You sleep for 100 years first, and after 100 years you and I will break through the sky together. Century. Emperor Wu raised his thick eyebrows and thought it made sense. He has really had sex with this god, so he naturally knows how powerful this god is. Furthermore, for a former great emperor, 100 years passed by like a fleeting moment, and it was nothing at all. But the question is, why did he sleep for 100 years? Can't you stay awake? Now that Mu Kui's personality has gone awry, he must keep an eye on it until he proves the throne, and the two personalities merge again, and then he breaks the sky in one fell swoop. You are greatly influenced by God. Only by allowing Mu Kui to grow can we achieve our great plan, Jiang Chen said again after seeing through Emperor Wu's thoughts. Emperor Wu didn't reply and fell into deep thought. Knowing that the emperor is not a novice and is not easy to fool, Jiang Chen had to change his tone. If you don't want to sleep for 100 years, it's okay to sleep for a few decades. Emperor Wu still didn't reply. Now, Jiang Chen had a headache again. Suddenly, Emperor Wu noticed something strange. Mu Kui, who had been trying to regain control of his body just now, suddenly became strangely quiet. This quietness is not sleep, but a state of sluggishness. Could it be? Emperor Wu thought of something. This thought has just fallen into place. His eyes opened suddenly, and he froze on the spot as if he had lost his soul. Such an unexpected situation made Jiang Chen confused. He tried shouting twice, but when Emperor Wu didn't respond, he ran away. Halfway through, he ran back and took away Lin Feng, who had fallen to the ground and was unconscious. Although he didn't know what Emperor Wu was crazy about at this moment, Lin Feng was the son of destiny. If he is killed later, his tool will be gone. Junior brother, I saved your life again, Jiang Chen sighed and raised his hand to give Lin Feng a big showdown. Emperor Wu stood in the void, with the Juyan sect at his feet. He looked up at the sky. Second life. He frowned, feeling angry. But in the end, he still suppressed this anger, and did not want to smash the 3 golden characters second life like last time. The reason is simple. When he recognized Jiang Chen, he was not being controlled by others, but acting voluntarily. In this way, there is no need to compete with the forces in the dark. After all, they are now friendly forces. Emperor Wu saw himself again. To be precise, it should be the personality of this life, Mu Kui. At this moment, Mu Kui was also standing in the void, obviously in a daze. There is no doubt that this time, the mysterious power actually pulled both his and Mu Kui's personalities into the 9th life retrospective at once. Mu Kui also saw Emperor Wu. 2 personalities with the same appearance, looking at each other. Then, coward, the 2 scolded each other at the same time. Mu Kui scolded Emperor Wu because Emperor Wu had abandoned all distracting thoughts except martial arts enlightenment and wanted to defy heaven. As everyone knows, this is actually a sign of cowardice, a coward who is afraid of God. The reason why Emperor Wu scolded Mu Kui was very simple. Crying and crying, embarrassing. Snort. The 2 personalities snorted at the same time and looked away. Emperor Wu sat cross-legged in the air, waiting for the end of the 9th generation retrospective. Mu Kui, on the other hand, was floating around, looking for Jiang Chen. Soon Mu Kui found out. The time point at this time is not before the start of the second life, but decades after Jiang Chen was expelled from the sect. At that time, the Jiang family had been destroyed, and the Juyan sect had been promoted to the upper domain sect. In the upper domain, Mu Kui met Jiang Chen in white and himself. The 2 met on a cliff. Jiang Chen seemed to be doing evil, and he happened to be passing by in the picture. At this time, the memory seal of Mu Kuei in the picture has gradually begun to be unlocked. I always feel that the scene where Zhang Chen does evil has a strange sense of dissonance and intimacy. It was this feeling that made Mu Kuei step forward to greet Zhang Chen. The two chatted for a while, but it was all meaningless. Even so, they were in a good mood. Mu Kuei, remember before leaving, Zhang Chen said, in this life, you are Mu Kuei, not anyone else. It is Mu Kuei who defies heaven, and my former fourth junior brother is also Mu Kuei. Hearing this, Mu Kuei in the picture was confused. But Mu Kuei, who was watching, understood. He already knew that he was the reincarnation of Emperor Wu, and he also knew that Emperor Wu's memory had been unlocked, and the personality belonging to Emperor Wu had appeared. As it is now. Two personalities, one body. The final result can only be that one of the personalities is destroyed or merged with each other. Mu Kuei knew very well. If he accepts Emperor Wu's personality, his cultivation and combat power will definitely rise in a straight line. But then, is he still the same person? Mu Kuei didn't understand, but he remembered Zhang Chen's words. As long as Zhang Chen wishes, he will always be Mu Kuei. Next, the flashback images began to change rapidly. Mu Kuei saw Zhang Chen's tragic death, and also learned Zhang Chen's true purpose and the truth of this world. Although these images also appeared in the first life of the flashback, he was suppressed by the Wu Emperor's personality at that time and saw almost nothing. The second life came to an abrupt end. The third life. The fourth life. The fifth life. The 10th life. Without the intervention of the Wu Emperor, Mu Kuei watched the 9-life flashback in full. During this period, he also broke down and cried. But without exception, after all kinds of emotions, what followed was a strong anger. Anger at himself and at this heaven. In this life, Zhang Chen changed into black clothes and began to do evil things. In this regard, Mu Kuei smiled with relief. Because his senior brother really deserves to live freely and unrestrainedly. The Wu Emperor also felt the same emotion. After watching the complete 9-life flashback, the Wu Emperor made a decision. He wants to sleep for 100 years. The reason for this is not that he was moved by Zhang Chen's goodness, but that he understood a fact. After 9 lives, Zhang Chen is really experienced in defying the heaven. Although Zhang Chen seems to have given up defying the heaven in this 10th life, this should be just an appearance. An appearance used to confuse the way of heaven. Because just before he fell into the 9-life replay, Zhang Chen personally drafted a century-long plan to defy the heaven. And this mysterious power is also helping Zhang Chen defy the heaven. Moreover, what Zhang Chen said makes sense. He was indeed deeply influenced by the heaven, otherwise he would not collapse his own emperor source, and would not be so angry about being influenced by external forces. As for Mu Kuei, he should grow up as he wants. Perhaps this is the right way to defy the heaven. Thinking of this, Emperor Wu closed his eyes. At the same time, the replay time suddenly closed. Mu Kuei woke up in the prison of desire, and could no longer feel the interference of Emperor Wu, but could recall the memory that belonged to Emperor Wu. After no one suppressed his emotions. The impact of the 9-life flashback became more obvious, and emotions such as anger, heartache, sadness, and self-blame surged in his heart. With hostility surging in his eyes, Mu Kuei made a decision. He would not return to the Juyan sect, but would travel around to strengthen himself. From then on, he would only practice one fist. This fist was the fist in the memory of the Emperor Wu, an ancient fist, and there was only one style, called Kaishan. His goal was to practice this ancient fist to the extreme. Then, sooner or later, he would break the sky for Zhang Chen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 169. At the same time, outside the Buddha temple, hundreds of spirit boats rushed over, and the words Juyan on the boats were extremely eye-catching. On each spirit boat, there were hundreds of monks holding various spiritual weapons. In front of the 100 spirit boats, the 12 great elders, the heads of the sects, and the peak masters of Juyan sect were standing in the air. At this time, everyone was still immersed in the grief of the death of the ancestor, but they still tried their best not to lose their momentum. The great elder Xiaoting waved his hand to the back. "Oh! Overthrow the Buddha temple and save Lin Feng." The disciples of Juyan sect shouted loudly one after another. Diamond sued. Among them, the elders and disciples of Zhifeng shouted the loudest. Especially the elder of Zhifeng, Lu Yang, was standing on the edge of the spirit boat, and while shouting, he kept waving the spirit knife in his hand, just like a chicken blood. The shouts rolled and spread, resounding throughout the Buddha temple. Seeing that the Buddha temple people were still not coming out, Xiaoting frowned and said, "Control the sky realm and break this great array of salvation first." "Ah! Really fight?" Another supreme elder was a little confused. He thought that this time they just came here to pretend to be high profile and pretend. Moreover, the great array of salvation of the Buddha temple is not of high grade. Even if it really needs to be broken, it does not require the sky realm to take action. It only requires several supreme elders to join forces to easily break the array. On the way here, we did not hide our whereabouts at all. The Buddha temple should have known it long ago. Knowing it, but not sending people out to negotiate, wouldn't it lose momentum if we don't really fight? Xiaoting asked back. That makes sense. The head of the sect, Gu Changqing, continued in a whisper, "The arrow is on the string and must be shot. First use the Zhenzong sky realm to scare those bald donkeys and let them understand our attitude." Hearing this, the others nodded one after another. Soon, a glass mirror appeared in the air. This precious mirror is several feet high and 10 feet wide. The mirror surface is as green as a vast expanse of water and as dark as an abyss. The frame is pitch black, and 9 blood red, lifelike beasts are engraved on it, with their fangs and claws bared and their expressions very scary. This is exactly the Juyan sect's divine spiritual weapon, the green water-glazed sky realm. This level of spiritual weapon is only owned by first-class sects in the central region, and is used as a guardian of the sect. If the glazed sky realm is used for investigation, it can observe every position in the central region that does not have a high-level formation. If used for attack, it is also very powerful. Xiaoting personally controlled the sky realm, and his fingers flicked slightly, and a spiritual light shot into the mirror. Hualala! The sky realm mirror was like waves and the sea, making a sound like water and waves. Then, Xiaoting aimed the mirror at the great transcendental array in front of him, and raised his hand to eject dozens of spiritual lights. It was not until he was a little tired that the sky realm shone with dazzling green light. Under the green light, the 9 strange beasts engraved on the mirror frame seemed to come alive, and they opened their mouths and roared at the same time. At the same time, a beam of light mixed with colorful divine light came out from the mirror of the dome, mixed with the momentum of destroying the world, and shot towards the great array of salvation in front. In the blink of an eye, the divine light penetrated the array, and its power did not decrease, and it shot forward. Wherever the divine light passed, the clouds in the sky broke, and the ground collapsed instantly to form a trench. Those monks who had not yet left the Buddha temple were annihilated by the divine light and turned into dust and scattered. Continuing forward, the divine light finally arrived at a majestic temple surrounded by colorful Buddha light, extremely magnificent, and golden Buddha statues could be seen everywhere. This place is the main temple of the Buddha temple. Seeing that the divine light was about to hit the defense array of the main temple, Amitabha, 4 skinny and dark yellow ascetic monks suddenly appeared. The four of them worked together to throw the golden bowl with Buddha's light into the air. The golden bowl gradually grew bigger, and the inside of the bowl was pitch black, like a bottomless black hole. The black hole was shining with Buddha's light, and the strange images of Buddhas could be seen vaguely, emerging behind the bowl. This is the sacred artifact of the Buddha temple, the demon-subduing bowl. As the Buddhas whispered, the Buddha's light in the bowl became even brighter. At the same time, the pillar-like divine light hit the inside of the bowl. Boom! The two came into contact, and the earth and the sky shook. The Buddha's light and the divine light clashed, and the aftermath spread all around. Wherever they went, monks died tragically, and temples and the ground collapsed. However, in just a few breaths, except for the main temple of the Buddha temple, almost all the other temples were destroyed. Hundreds of miles turned into a scorched earth. Seeing this scene, the four ascetic monks were furious. There are also rules and procedures for sect wars. According to common sense, the ordinary disciples of the two sects should fight first, and then the level of the battle will continue to rise. Only at the end will the sect guarding artifacts be used, or the two ancestors will fight each other. This rule will be followed even by the devil. The reason is simple. It is not easy to establish a sect, and no one wants to let the war escalate to an irreversible point unless it is necessary. Because the battle between the two strong men and the artifacts, no matter what the result, its power is enough to destroy everything. Crazy. The Julian sect is a bunch of crazy people. But originally we wanted to give the Julian sect people time to calm down, and then come out to negotiate and convert them. Who would have thought that the Julian sect would break the rules and directly destroy our Buddha temple? In my opinion, the Julian sect has been possessed by the devil. Call all the powerful Buddhists, let's go and meet him. If a battle occurs, try to keep the battlefield away from our temple. The Julian sect has moved all the sect's sacred artifacts here, which is the beginning of a war to destroy the sect. I'm sure that the Julian patriarch has also arrived, otherwise these people wouldn't be so arrogant. Yes, what does the Buddha patriarch mean? The Buddha patriarch said that there is a reincarnation of the martial emperor who has awakened his memory in the 6 prisons, and the strength of the Julian sect patriarch is unfathomable. If we are not careful, our Buddha temple will be in great trouble today. The ascetic monks were discussing. When the last sentence fell, their faces became extremely solemn. The Julian patriarch alone made the Buddha temple feel pressured. If the martial emperor who entered the 6 prisons was added, it would be Alexander. But no matter what, we must go to meet him. Otherwise, the reputation of the Buddha temple, which has been established for 100 years, will be destroyed. On the other side, in front of the Julian sect spirit boat. Seeing that most of the Buddha temple was destroyed, the ordinary elders and disciples of the Julian sect were shocked. Too fierce. Our own supreme elder is really too fierce. Before the enemy and I fought, hundreds of temples in the Buddha temple were destroyed first. This is absolutely crushing in terms of momentum. Oh! The crowd roared again, shouting, turning over the Buddha temple, saving Linfeng. Hearing this, the head of the sect, Gu Changqing, twitched his mouth, and whispered to Xiaoshan, Grand Elder, isn't this a bit too much? What if those bald donkeys are desperate? Why are you panicking? Xiaoshan glared, and also transmitted his voice, I originally wanted to break the defense formation of the Buddha temple in one fell swoop, but who would have thought that those bald donkeys were so stupid that they also used divine spiritual weapons to fight? The confrontation of divine weapons will of course cause harm to the surrounding areas. Are you not panicking? You are not panicking, don't shake your voice. Gu Changqing was speechless. If the Buddha patriarch comes in a rage later, we will run. Do you understand? Xiaoshan whispered. Okay. Gu Changqing nodded seriously. In his opinion, it was just a bluff now. If the Buddha patriarch really came, when the Julian patriarch had fallen, he would naturally run away quickly. Although it would lose momentum, it is better than giving up everything here. Ordinary elders and disciples don't know that the ancestor has fallen yet. We can't let it slip, otherwise people's hearts will be scattered, Xuanhuan added again. Gu Changqing nodded and understood what Xuanhuan meant. Looking back at the excited elders and disciples of Juyan sect, Gu Changqing raised his arms and shouted, "Juyan sect, invincible!" Oh, everyone shouted again. "Juyan ancestor, invincible! Oh! Overthrow the Buddha temple and save Linfeng! Oh!" After several words of incitement, the momentum of Juyan sect was like a rainbow. Gu Changqing nodded slightly, expressing his satisfaction. Just when he and other high-ranking members of the sect were planning to wait for the group of bald donkeys from the Buddha temple to come to negotiate in the state. "Charge!" Zhifeng Great Elder Liu Yang suddenly shouted. Then, "Oh! Kill them! I've long disliked these bald donkeys. With the ancestors behind us, we will never retreat. Juyan sect is invincible." Accompanied by shouts, thousands of disciples jumped off the spirit boat, holding various spirit weapons, and rushed into the Buddha temple with murderous intent. The sect war kicked off. Such a situation made Xuanhuan and other sect leaders all look confused. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fuzetuo. Chapter 170. Liu Yang and other thousands of disciples of Juyan sect fought with the monks of Buddha temple soon after they broke into the Buddha temple. Juyan sect has 9 peaks in total, and each peak has several true disciples. Recently, the sect's attention has basically focused on the true disciples of Juyan sect, which makes the true disciples of other peaks feel that they have little sense of existence. Therefore, in this battle, the true disciples of each peak tried their best to kill the bald donkey with one sword. Although the disciples of Juyan sect were like chicken blood, they still had a sense of propriety. Since everyone is a righteous sect, they mainly focus on heavy damage, and only when they are angry will they use a fighting method of poking a few holes in the opponent as a supplement. After the last civil war of the sect, Liu Yang and other disciples of Juyan sect have gained a lot of experience and do not take the usual path. They rarely fight head-on with the monks of Buddha temple, but adopt strategies such as detours and sneak attacks, and have achieved fruitful results. Amitabha. Accompanied by a whisper, several monks with Buddha's light on their heads appeared on the battlefield. Buddha disciples of Buddha temple, seeing this, Zhifeng Great Elder Liu Yang's face was slightly solemn. Juyan sect naturally had some information about Buddha temple. Liu Yang and others were also very clear that the Buddha disciples of Buddha temple were all Tianyuan cultivation, and they were all profound in Buddhism. Although Juyan sect also had many true disciples, there were definitely not many who could match them. To put it bluntly, this was still the credit of the Buddhist relics. If it weren't for the fact that the 10 Buddhist disciples of Buddha temple had inherited the Buddhist relics and had been crowned with Buddhism. In terms of cultivation talent alone, they really couldn't compare with the true disciples of Juyan sect. The appearance of the Buddhist disciples made Juyan sect feel like they were facing a great enemy. For a while, both Juyan sect and Buddha temple stopped fighting and glared at each other. "My name is Safa, and I am the 3rd Buddhist disciple." Suddenly, a short and fat Buddhist disciple stepped forward to challenge. "I'm here to fight you." A sword-wielding young man walked out of the crowd of Juyan sect, his face firm. This man was the first true disciple of Jianfeng, Zhou Jian. Before Linfeng joined Juyan sect, Zhou Jian had challenged Zhang Chen, but was defeated by the latter in a crushing manner. At that time, Zhou Jian was a sword cultivator in the early stage of the Earth Yuan realm. Since that competition, Zhou Jian learned from his shame and became more diligent in his practice. Now he is in the middle stage of the Earth Yuan realm. Don't underestimate the gap in this small realm. Sword cultivators are different from ordinary cultivators. Even if they are in a small realm, their combat effectiveness will increase significantly. Walking forward with a sword, Zhou Jian glanced at the short and fat Buddhist child and wondered, the third Buddhist child? Where are the first and second Buddhist children? Hearing this, the third Buddhist child Safa's face suddenly turned black. There are a total of 10 Buddhist children in the Buddha temple, 4 of whom were paralyzed by Zhang Chen's great power heavenly dragon. Especially the first Buddhist disciple Xin, who is still in a coma. Not only that. Although there are many law enforcement monks in the Buddha temple, the law enforcement monks who went to save Zhang Chen the other day were all top masters among them. And those masters were also severely injured by Zhang Chen. At this moment, Safa began to doubt whether the demon monk from the upper domain came to lead the Juyan sect. Amitabha, I see that you, the people of Juyan sect, are full of resentment, and the devil is born from your heart. You have all been possessed by the devil. I need to save you. Before the fight, Safa clasped his hands together, with Buddha's light on his head. He thought that these words would make the people of Juyan sect angry. Who would have thought? How do you know? Are you an undercover agent of the demon sect? Zhou Jian was shocked. Safa was speechless. He knew nothing. This is just a way for Buddhist disciples to occupy the moral high ground before the fight. According to reason. In the past, all the monks who were said to be possessed by demons by Buddhist monks would desperately deny it. But Zhou Jian, who was in front of him, actually admitted it directly. It would be fine if he admitted it, but he actually threw dirty water on him. This move is a bit smart. He didn't take the usual path, but turned the tables. After looking at Zhou Jian with appreciation, Sci-fi stopped talking nonsense and prepared to take action directly. Zhou Jian also straightened his expression, and the magic sword in his hand made a clang sound. The two of them were still looking at each other in the previous second, but in the next second they had rushed in front of each other, their eyes full of fighting spirit. And just as everyone was watching, the two were preparing to fight for 300 rounds. Get out of the way. You are blocking the way. Two delicate voices suddenly sounded. The moment the voice fell, Zhou Jian felt a heavy blow on his head, and Sci-fi was trembling with cold air. After everyone came to their senses, they found 2 beautiful figures appeared in front of them. It was Zhang Lianyu and Qingning. At some point, Qingning sneaked up behind Zhou Jian and knocked him out with a spiritual shovel. Zhang Lianyu was more direct. She first used the cold air condensed by her skills to make Sci-fi shiver, and then kicked him several feet away. Everyone glanced at Zhou Jian and Sci-fi, who fell to the ground, and then glanced at Zhang Lianyu and Qingning. The people in Buddha temple were shocked. The people in Juyan sect were stunned. These two women were really clean and neat, and very straightforward. But the problem is, why did they even hit their own people? After a long period of shock, Zhufeng Great Elder Lu Yang rubbed his eyes, looking unbelievable. He only realized at this time. After only a few months of retreat, Zhang Lianyu had broken through to the Tianyuan realm. And Qingning, who has always had poor talent, has also raised her cultivation to the Daiyuan realm. Haha, this is my Zhufeng Tianxiao, Lu Yang shouted excitedly. Oh! The disciples of Zhufeng also shouted. Tear down the Buddha temple and save Linfeng, Lu Yang raised his arms and shouted. Oh! The Juyan clan members shouted again. The next moment, the two clans fought again. Zhang Lianyu and Qingning were told on the way here that saving Linfeng was just a slogan, and the actual purpose this time was to save Zhang Chen. Therefore, although the two women did not echo the slogan, they still joined the battlefield. Of course, if there were disciples from the same clan who hindered their steps, they would still not distinguish between friend and foe and beat them together. As they fought, Zhang Lianyu got tired. After frowning, a burst of imperial power burst out from her body, suppressing the monks of the Buddha temple. She did not intend to self-destruct the emperor's source, but after repeated tests, She found that as long as she controlled the rhythm well, she could use the Emperor's source to release a certain amount of imperial power, which would have the effect of suppressing the enemy. Qingning also got tired and gave up using the spirit shovel to hit people. She shook her two white wrists, and the green bells on them made a crisp ring. The ringing was like waves, rippling. Hearing this, the monks with lower cultivation levels were all in a daze. Taking this opportunity, the Julian sect members rushed forward, pressed down the monks who had lost their fighting power, and beat them up. The monks of the Buddha temple were defeated and had to retreat temporarily. Liu Yang and other Julian sect members wanted to chase them, but Li Faju came with another wave of sect disciples and stopped them, saying, "Don't chase them. Zhang Chen is in the Buddha's 6 prisons. We need to rescue him quickly." After that, Li Faju looked at Qingning, who was smiling like crescent moons. Then, he shuddered. To this day, he still can't forget the situation when he was buried alive by Qingning. "Don't be afraid, Elder Li, as long as you listen to me, Qingning will not bury you alive again." Qingning put her hands behind her back, her little face full of seriousness. Li Faju was speechless. He knew it better than anyone else. The most frightening thing about Qingning is that she can use the most innocent expression to say the most terrifying words.